Like a couple of times I drove about 200 kilometers just to go there. Literally, I can spend hours there. I don't know, I love that place. So, why? Because that's human nature. Human nature. And by the way, research in psychology recently, they call this aqua therapy. They figured out that people who live by close to body waters like a lake, a sea, rivers, streams, creeks, okay, they're much more healthier emotionally and mentally. Way, way healthier than others. And they tend to be a little bit smarter as well. Why? Because nature has this impact. So Allah knows this about humans. So that's how He designed Jannah. So when He talks about Jannah, He usually talks about Jannat, gardens, greenery, that beauty. And Allah talks about rivers. Because Allah knows that's what the soul wishes for. That's what the soul flourishes on, nature. And by the way, part of being more spiritual is to allow yourself to spend more time in nature. Because it puts you at ease and it opens up your heart. That's it. I remember reading, when I was reading on the life of Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, one of his students, he says Ibn Taymiyyah had a habit. Sometimes he would leave the city and go into the desert in nature by himself for such a long time. He says, I'm fed up. He says, I'm fed up with like civilization, buildings and people. I just want to be by myself in nature and just speak with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's the Prophet ﷺ, before prophethood, where was he? On top of a mountain, right? Spending time in nature. So nature really awakens your spirituality, by the way, awakens your heart, puts you more at ease, reduces stress, which is a very good thing, because when you have less stress, you're more likely to be, by the way, spiritual. When you're under more stress, you're more likely to be selfish, by the way. That's how we humans are. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes, this is how He describes paradise. And then He says, كُلَّمَا رُزِقُوا مِنْهَا مِنْ ثَمَرَةِ الرِّزْقِ. Let me read you the translation here from the clear Quran again. Give good news, O Prophet, to those who believe and do good, that they will have gardens under which rivers flow. Whenever provided with fruit, they will say, this is what we were given before, for they will be served food that looks similar but tastes different. They will have pure spouses and they will be there forever. Again, so this talks about the fruits here. وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا. Now some scholars of tafsir, they say, okay, they are given similar fruits. And what that means, one interpretation, is that it means they will be given fruits as they had in this dunya, in this first life. It looks like apples, oranges, strawberries, blueberries, mangoes. It depends on what you love, right? So you will be given something that looks like it. But when you taste it, there's no comparison. That's just way, because what you have in this dunya is very little compared to the akhirah. So the scholars say, it looks like what they had in dunya, but it tastes completely different. Another interpretation says, no, there will be brought fruits. There's so much variety in Jannah that a lot of fruits look similar, but the tastes are endless. Like no fruit tastes like the other. So there's countless number of tastes. So again, all of this, you just can't imagine. Well, and by the way, this is not about having like a sensual experience about paradise. Yes, I mean, these are bodily, physical pleasures, but the deeper part of it is a spiritual experience. That's the reality of it. Because the best thing in paradise is that you are closest to Allah. And you can feel the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing in paradise compares to that. But just because humans in paradise will still be physical, their physical element will still be there, that's going to be provided as well for them. So, وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ. And they will have purified spouses. And spouses, sometimes people think, oh, okay, that it's about a sexual thing. Well, probably one element of it is really sexual, which is not bad, by the way. Because if you don't, sexually you're dysfunctional, that's not a good thing. Like the sign that a person is healthy, male or female, is that they are sexually healthy. If a person lacks sexuality, they lack a great part of their humanity. It's not a bad thing. Sexuality is not a bad thing. It becomes only a bad thing when you abuse it. when you do wrong things with it, that's when it's bad. But apart from this, it's a sign of humanity. It's a beautiful part of humanity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they will have spouses in Jannah. They will have spouses in Jannah. They will be purified. Purified of what? Physically purified. There's no filth. So people in paradise, by the way, they will not use the washroom. They don't urinate, they don't defecate. You don't need to use the washroom. That's it. So there's no filth. That side of humanity, of the physical existence, which is, that's the dirty side of it. It's not there in Jannah. It's not there. And the Prophet says, لا يتغوطون ولا يمتخطون. And they don't even, you don't have even, you don't produce anything out of your nose as filthy or dirty. You're just clear and purified. So it's physical existence, but it's of another sort, a higher level of what we know here. So it's just completely purified. There's nothing that you need to, there's no hair you need to shave. There's no dirt that you need to remove. There is no damage that you need to fix. There is no tiredness that you need to recover from. There's nothing like that. It's just beautiful, pure existence. Still physical. Still physical. So this is, and part of having a spouse is connection, because humans thrive on connections, by the way. Really, humans thrive on connections. You know studies of people who commit suicide. Before suicide, people go into a deep phase of depression. And before people go into that deep phase of depression, they cut themselves out from people. That's the sequence. This is why if you know someone who's going through some sign of depression and they cut themselves off, don't leave them alone. Go and bug them. Go home and force them out of the house. Get them to spend time with humans. Because that's the general pattern of suicide, by the way. A little bit of anxiety, pain, disappointment, etc. And the person removes himself or herself away from people, they keep to themselves. And they disconnect. So they start disconnecting from reality. Then they fall into depression, gets into deeper depression. That's when they get really stuck. They don't want to deal with people. And they don't want people to deal with them. They don't want people to see them in that phase. Then they get to a point of complete darkness where they see no hope in life. They go and take their lives out. So humans thrive on connection, and that's why Allah subhanahu provides that. Not only divine connection with Allah, but Allah also gives them connection of their own kind, humans like them. So Allah gives them spouses. وَكَوَاعِبَ أَتْرَابًا. Allah says of the same age. The spouses are of the same age. So you can relate to them and you feel full connection to them. I want to share with you this thing. I was speaking to a brother who got divorced a few months ago. And really, it's going really bad. His divorce case is going bad, and he's losing a lot of wealth and rights over the kids, and etc. It's really very stressful time for him. And the way I'm seeing his wife is actually behaving, I thought, man, you must have seen some red flags, because the way she's acting is not really normal. I said, you must have seen some red flags before you got married, but probably you just ignored them. You were so much in love, you had a big crush on her that you couldn't even see. He says, yeah, there were some signs, really there were some signs, but he said, I was so blind. SubhanAllah, now you have to pay for it. But anyway, the thing that really caught my attention was, I said, okay, tell me about these red flags. What red flags? He said, when I asked her for marriage, she said, I'll marry you, and I've never heard this, by the way, before. That's the first time I hear it. She says, I have a few conditions. One of them, number one, he said, yeah. She said, if you make it to Jannah, you don't get Hur al-Ain. It's only me. And I thought, wow, how crazy, man, that is. You've done him in this life, and you want to deprive him in Jannah. La ilaha illallah. So I thought, man, this was a big red flag, man. They should have really thought about that. Anyway, you were really desperate to accept that marriage. Anyway, okay. There's a joke. I'm not sure if it's real, by the way, or not, but it was It was mentioned, I think, by Dr. Amar al-Kafi. He says there was this sheikh speaking to people about Jannah, and he was telling them about Jannah and about, that people who get spouses in Jannah, men would have hur al-ain, etc. And people got really excited. Really, Sheikh, we're gonna get this? Yeah, you're gonna get that. And he mentions the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Then he describes them how even their skin is transparent. You can see their bone through their flesh. And just like, anyway, I don't want to get into details. But then people get really excited. Really, Sheikh, yes. And so one guy asked, and he said, Sheikh, I think it was probably one of the women asked the question, Sheikh, what about what about our spouses, like our wives here in dunya? He says, yes, they will be with you in Jannah. They will be the head of the hur al-ain, like the main of the hur al-ain. And the men go, change your mind, Sheikh. Like we don't, like they were happy, but now it was Allah understand. Anyway, this was a joke. I'm not sure if it was real. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, yes. لهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون. So they have purified spouses in it. وهم فيها خالدون. Wow, that's really profound. That's really profound. One of the biggest sources of stress for humans is what? Expectancy of death.